Gwati Hapa. Hi everyone. I'm back again and we will be reading out of chapter 4. The first part of chapter 4, and this one is called Massacre. I apologize in advance. This is an emotional chapter for me, so tonight and tomorrow, forgive me if I'm a little emotional. Chapter 4, Massacre. While the seasons danced their way across the land, Sunflower left the mesa she had been frequenting to follow her two brothers as they ventured into the desert to hunt. She watched as her elder brother led their younger brother, instructing him in the ways of the hunter. Sunlight cast an enchanting glow throughout their desert training ground, a stark contrast to the heavy shadow that rested on Sunflower's mind as she watched her siblings from the cover of sagebrush. A pang of sorrow pierced her heart as she wondered how she could somehow bridge the gap between her hidden identity and their misunderstanding of her absence. Sunflower observed her younger brother's initial aversion to hunting, his kind-hearted nature causing him to struggle with the idea of taking life from another creature. However, as time went on, she saw his determination to avenge her overpower his natural reluctance to kill. Her already fragmented heart shattered further when she overheard him chanting softly to himself, reminding himself of his goal aloud. Punish the mountain lion people for eating sister. With each practice session, his skills as a hunter grew, molding him into a more lethal and focused predator. The transformation of her once gentle sibling into an austere killer filled Sunflower with an indescribable sorrow. Her heart ached for the return of the spontaneously singing, jewelry-making jokester he had once been. Unable to bear witnessing his transformation any further, she eventually ceased following her brothers on their hunts and returned to the mesa top near their pueblo. There, she consoled herself by watching over their family members who remained in town, while her older brother continued to guide and mentor their younger brother in the ways of the hunter. Days later, Sunflower watched in anguished silence as her brothers brought home the bodies of several mountain lions. From young cubs to mature adults, her stomach churned, causing her to recoil, unintentionally heaving her breakfast under a nearby sagebrush. Hours later, as she observed her father and the other men of the pueblo stretching the mountain lion hides in the plaza to cure under the sun, a new wave of horrified bewilderment washed over her. She felt overwhelmed by the slaughter of beings who had accepted her as one of their own, and it troubled her deeply to know that her beloved brothers were responsible for these murders. Though she had largely remained silent and unseen among the mountain lion people, keeping her distance, she felt their suffering deeply. It was as if they were being punished for their protection and acceptance of her. Immediately, the area surrounding their pueblo, once teeming with life, began to reflect the callous shift in her brother's spirits. Birds fell silent. The vibrant hues of wildflowers began to lose their luster, and ominous shadows tinted nearby sandstone mesas. That night, as the moon cast pale light over the landscape, Sunflower left the mesa she had been frequenting to fetch water from a spring that dripped down a distant mesa. The shallow sandstone pools she usually found rainwater in had dried, the land parched for months without rain. Though it was somewhat of a hike to the dripping spring, she found the effort worth it for the assurance of avoiding the deeper sandstone pools used by her human family. In her current form, she wanted to prevent any accidental encounters that might arise from visiting the more frequented water sources. After quenching her thirst, she began her return to the mesa outside of her pueblo. A familiar voice drifted from the shadows, grave and startling. The suffering of my people must end. She turned to see the leader of the mountain lion people emerging from the darkness, his presence as regal and composed as ever. His glowing golden eyes bore into hers with a stern intensity, conveying both authority and the weight of a heavy burden. My people are innocent, he continued, his voice steady yet tinged with deep sorrow. We did not transform you. Yet your brothers are relentlessly pursuing their misguided quest to destroy us in their attempt to avenge you. Their anger is misplaced. Their actions are driven by misunderstanding. In their rage, their hearts have hardened and they commit atrocities against those who have done you no harm. We took you in not to inflict harm, but to protect you from death itself. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle, before holding her gaze with unwavering conviction. You are the only one who can reach them. You alone have the power to end this senseless bloodshed peacefully. I have faith in your strength to guide your brothers toward understanding and peace. Sunflower's mind raced as she wondered how to communicate with her brothers in her current form. How could she reveal her identity as their sister and convey this message to them? The leader of the Mountain Lion people seemed to sense her turmoil, his gaze softening with understanding. Speak to your younger brother alone, he advised, his voice filled with calm assurance. His heart is not entirely cold. He still holds a spark of compassion for all beings. There was no threat in the leader's voice, only a deep-seated conviction in knowing that she, and only she, could bridge the divide between her human family and the Mountain Lion people. The leader's faith in her ability, despite the gravity of his request, was unwavering. With that, the leader of the Mountain Lion people turned northward and walked away from her, fading into the shadows of the night. His command to save the Mountain Lion people by bridging the divide between her former life and her present one left her with a flicker of hope amidst the turmoil she felt. Sunflower felt the weight of his words settle upon her heart. Excitement surged through her at the thought of reuniting with her family, while dread quickly followed. She was painfully aware of the likelihood that her younger brother might kill her in this new form, without giving her a chance to somehow prove her identity as his sister. The following morning, as if guided by divine design, Sunflower observed her elder brother bidding farewell to their younger sibling, who was about to embark on his first solo hunt, a significant rite of passage in her younger brother's journey as a hunter. Their father prayed over his youngest son, marking his body with ashes for protection before allowing him to leave the pueblo. The air was thick with tension, rustling leaves and distant bird calls giving a somber soundtrack to the scene. As her older brother made his way back to his home and her younger brother vanished beyond a dense cluster of pinon juniper shrubs, Sunflower felt a surge of resolve. She knew she had to watch over her younger brother from afar, and when the opportunity arose, find a way to prove her identity to him as his sister. Hidden amidst the shadows of sagebrush, Sunflower observed her brother's progress from a careful distance. Her heart was saturated with both prideful admiration and aching despair. The once tender-hearted boy had now become a formidable hunter, his movements fluid and precise, eyes steeled with determination. When she was close enough to see every detail of his search for the indicative signs of mountain lions, she maintained a distance far enough from him to remain undetected. The young hunter remained completely unaware that, while he searched for signs of his prey, he was being tracked as well by his own sister. As he moved through the terrain, his eyes scanning the ground and surrounding bushes, the desert seemed to hold its breath. Pinon juniper branches quivered with tension as he searched, his focus unwavering as he looked to track the very tribe of people she now knew as her own. With every step he took, the young hunter's thoughts were consumed by memories of his lost sister. He recalled how she loved the songs he made up, how her laughter would bubble up uncontrollably, so intense that it would leave her breathless in a silent fit of gasping giggles. He remembered the wisdom in her supportive words, always infused with a depth that seemed beyond her years, and how they had the power to immediately lift his spirits. Their bond had been unbreakable, a connection that was both comforting and profound, woven through shared moments of laughter and heartfelt conversation. He missed the way her eyes would light up on cloudy days, the days she cherished most. A slight smile tugged at the corners of his mouth as he remembered how she would often walk outside on those days and fling her arms open wide as though embracing the overcast sky. She often said that the overcast sky felt like a soft blanket, wrapping the world in a comforting embrace as it prepared to bestow the blessing of life-sustaining water to the land. As he moved toward the mesa where Sunflower had gathered the wild raspberry leaves, the memories of his sister transformed into an obsession that gnawed at his very being. The once gentle boy was now a hunter driven by a relentless need for vengeance, his heart growing colder with every step. The air began to permeate with petrichor, the unmistakable scent of damp earth and rain in their desert home. The thought of how, on cloudy days like this in the past, his sister would have told him stories by the fire as the rain fell outside only served to intensify the young hunter's grief for the sister he had lost. The brother's determination to avenge his sister's disappearance fueled his every move, his muscles honed and his senses razor-sharp. Silent as a shadow, he moved through the undergrowth, his eyes scanning the terrain for any sign of the malevolent forces he believed responsible for her fate. 2 days passed, and the brother's thirst for vengeance grew only stronger. The nearby mesa where the wild raspberries grew had become both his sanctuary and his prison, the beauty of its landscape a constant reminder of the light that had been stolen from him, his family, and his community. In the evenings, the young hunter would find solace in quiet, meditative moments spent by the flickering glow of a campfire. He would sit staring into the flames, his mind replaying cherished memories of happier times spent with his sister. The crackling of the fire and the haunting whispers of the wind through the trees seemed to carry her spirit with them. Unable to shake the feeling of being watched, he attributed it to the presence of his sister's spirit. Little did he know how right he was. His cherished sister crouched low at a short distance from him, hidden in the shadows, watching him from her current form, so close and yet so far. On the third day, the young hunter found himself ascending a steep incline. The sand gave way to rocky terrain as he neared the very edge where Sunflower had received the first devastating blow that had plunged her into darkness. At one point, as he climbed, his sweat-soaked hands slipped from the rough face of the mesa, sending a shower of pebbles and dust cascading down towards his sister below. Catching himself on a protruding rock, he gripped the sandstone firmly, his body straining with effort as he pushed forward, his eyes focused on finding the next handhold with which to pull himself up. Upon reaching the ledge where Sunflower had harvested the bare root, something on the ground caught his eye. A glimmer of light, a fleeting sparkle, reflected off of a tiny object nestled amongst the rocks. He squinted, adjusting his vision to focus on the source of the shimmer. With a sudden jolt of recognition, he realized that it was heishi, a shell bead from the necklace he had crafted for his sister so long ago that it felt like an entirely different lifetime to him. The bead glinted in the sunlight, filling the brother's heart with a strange mixture of joy-flavored sorrow, as memories of his sister flooded through his mind like a tidal wave. The former jeweler, now hardened by his hunt for vengeance, gently retrieved the bead, carefully wiped caked dirt from it, and cradled it in his palm as if it were a priceless treasure. His skilled hands, once adept at crafting intricate designs, now trembled with a mixture of reverence and grief. The heishi, small yet enduring, seemed to embody the very essence of his sister's spirit, bright, resilient, and nurturing. This tiny disc of shell was a tangible symbol of the past, connecting him to her presence in a way that memories alone could not. As he held the bead, the brother's resolve grew stronger, interpreting its discovery as a sign that he was on the right path. With renewed determination, he continued his ascent, each step bringing him closer to the truth and the possibility of finally avenging his sister's fate. In a moment of reflection, he tied the heishi onto the sinew cord that held his arrowhead of protection around his neck. The bead, her bead, now hung next to his heart, a symbol of the sisterly love that had shaped his early life and the vengeance that now drove him forward. The young hunter continued his ascent toward the ledge, scanning the ground as he went. The rocky terrain was interspersed with vibrant green foliage, and after a few steps, he spotted an abundance of wild raspberry plants. He wondered if this was the area where she had harvested the leaves he had found in her pouch. From edge to edge, he scoured the rocky ledge, searching for any other signs of Sunflower. As he searched, he felt a small, wet splatter on his left arm, followed by another on his right. He glanced up at the sky, now darkening with the sudden approach of rain clouds. The air grew thick with the scent of petrichor, heralding the arrival of a great storm. Having grown up in the area, the young hunter was familiar with storms that began softly, but quickly intensified into powerful tempests capable of creating instant streams and flash floods. He knew he had to leave the area or find shelter immediately. With a heart heavy from the disappointment of having to pause his hunt, he began to retrace his steps, his mind filled with the fear that the elements themselves were working against him. As he descended the ledge, the rain began to fall in earnest, large droplets that splattered against the rocks and soaked his clothing and his hair. Despite the fierce storm raging around him, his resolve remained unshaken. With the relentless winds howling and the rain pelting down like a curtain of sorrow, he made a solemn vow to return as soon as the tempest subsided. His heart burned with a fierce determination to bring justice for his sister, each promise to himself fueled by the depth of his commitment and the aching urgency of his mission. The rain began to fall faster, droplets cascading from the sky and drenching the earth below. Realizing how rapidly the storm was intensifying, he urgently sought shelter from the torrential downpour. His embroidered cotton pouches, slung over his right shoulder, swayed with each hurried step. He spotted the opening to a cave beneath the ledge and hurried toward it, seeking respite from the relentless rain. As he ducked inside, he was startled to find a mountain lion already within, sheltering itself from the storm. Their eyes met in stunned surprise at the unexpected encounter. With no time to load his bow and no space to use it effectively, the young hunter dropped it and quickly drew a rabbit stick from his belt, adrenaline coursing through his veins like a raging river. He would not let anything deter him from his quest for vengeance, especially now that he had found a precious clue connected to his sister. Determination etched on his face, he leapt at the mountain lion. The mountain lion let out a chirp as she deftly evaded the brunt of his rabbit stick, rolling behind him toward the north. Her movements were purposeful, meant to demonstrate her intent to defend rather than to cause harm. He lunged again, but she skillfully dodged to the west, pulling the rabbit stick from his hand with her powerful jaws. It dropped to the cave floor, lost in the darkness of the stormy night, leaving him momentarily disarmed and disoriented. Undeterred, he withdrew a sheathed obsidian dagger from his belt and lunged again, but she nimbly slipped away to the south, staying just outside of his reach. Lightning flashed near the cave entrance, briefly illuminating the darkness and glinting off of the dagger's edge. Sunflower's eyes remained fixated on the dagger as he lunged at her again, wielding it with fury. Darting past him toward the east, she evaded once more, her movements honed by the very training she had undergone for vengeance. She never imagined she would use those skills to defend herself from her own little brother. Consciously retracting her claws, she knocked the dagger out of his hand with a swift swipe of a powerful paw. The dagger clattered to the cave floor, and as it struck, obsidian flakes splintered upon impact, emitting a brilliant flash of sparks. The young hunter scrambled desperately toward the fallen dagger, his movements frantic and slightly uncontrolled. Seizing the opportunity, Sunflower glanced upward toward the zenith for guidance. With a powerful surge, she gracefully leapt over him, her body arcing through the air as he reached for the weapon, her sleek form momentarily silhouetted against the flashes of lightning that briefly illuminated the cave. She landed gracefully on the other side, her paws touching the ground silently. The hunter's frantic scramble eventually allowed him to seize the dagger, his fingers closing around the handle in a desperate grip. As he turned to rush at her once more, Sunflower remained low, her movements precise and controlled, With a surge of strength, she rushed toward him, her intent focused. As he advanced, she delivered a powerful headbutt to his backside, the only strike she was willing to make against her cherished younger brother. He stumbled forward and fell to the ground, rolling to face her again, his obsidian dagger poised to strike. Despite having long conquered his aversion to hunting, he faltered, freezing in place, as his eyes recognized a familiar shape. There, on the mountain lion's left shoulder, was a sunflower-shaped mark. It was identical to the one his sister had carried since childhood, and in the same position, the very mark that had earned her the nickname Sunflower from their older brother long before she could even walk. Shock and disbelief washed over the young hunter as he stared at the mark, his grip on the dagger loosening ever so slightly. A whirlwind of emotions and questions overwhelmed him. The possibility that this mountain lion could be his sister, a notion both horrifying and exhilarating, gripped his heart. He stood frozen, struggling to reconcile the image of his sister with the fierce predator before him, his pulse racing as his mind grappled with the overwhelming reality. His survival instincts roared within him, compelling him to continue the fight. But then a startling realization pierced through the chaos. The mountain lion had never truly attacked him. It had only evaded, its actions carefully calculated, only striking back with that single, purposeful headbutt. A wave of disbelief washed over him as he processed the creature's unusual behavior. It had moved with an almost otherworldly grace, sidestepping his every move with a precision that aligned with the 6 sacred directions. The realization struck him hard, leaving him grappling with a flood of questions and a profound sense of bewilderment. Could it really be her? If so, then had she been reborn as a mountain lion? Or had she somehow transformed? Was his grief playing a horrific trick on him in the heat of this peril? How could a mountain lion be Sunflower, his cherished sister? Was he losing his mind? Disarmed and overwhelmed by a tidal wave of emotions, Sunflower's younger brother sank to his knees. Tears streamed down his dusty face as he stared at the mountain lion he had just tried to kill mere moments before. Determined to reach her brother through the storm of their conflict, Sunflower blinked slowly, her gaze intent on conveying a silent plea. Through the depth of their sibling bond, she hoped her eyes could bridge the chasm of misunderstanding between them. Her eyes, overflowing with both love and anguish, spoke a silent message. Brother, it's me, Sunflower. Though her heart ached to speak with him in their shared language, all she could muster was a soft, plaintive purr. She hoped he was able to see beyond her formidable mountain lion form, to recognize the sister he had once known and lost. He extended a trembling hand towards her, his eyes reflecting on the raw vulnerability of someone who was on the edge of surrender. The risk he was willing to take was profound, a willingness to embrace the possibility of his own demise if it meant he could be wrong about her identity. Sunflower? He stammered, his voice quivering. Sister? Sunflower approached him with a deliberate slowness, her movements infused with a deep, heartfelt tenderness. She lowered her snout and exhaled softly, twice, upon his trembling fingertips, her warm breath carrying a whispered reassurance. Her long, delicate whiskers brushed gently against the palm of his hand, and she carefully rested her chin with profound affection in his open palm, a silent gesture of love and trust before raising her golden gaze to the obsidian of his eyes. "It's you!" he exclaimed, his voice breaking with a mixture of disbelief and relief. "It really is you!" Sunflower's brother tenderly scratched behind her ears with his free hand before encircling her powerful shoulders in an embrace. As his thin arms wrapped around her large feline form, Sunflower responded by gently placing one paw around him, her claws sheathed to avoid causing him any harm. Just like times past, Her younger brother immediately began talking, rapidly, a spitfire of questions pouring forth. With scarcely a breath between, he asked how this transformation had happened, what it was like to be a mountain lion, if this cave was her new home now, and if eating raw meat like a mountain lion had ever made her sick. At this, his eyes lit up as he decided to cook her a meal for the first time, proud to show her what he had learned from their mother in Sunflower's absence. He began to prepare a meal from the meager provisions he had brought with him. Taking thin strips of dried meat, corn flour, cornbread, and parched corn out of a pouch he wore over his right shoulder, he set to work. Within moments, he had expertly built a fire and arranged the ingredients to prepare a warm, nourishing stew. Sunflower, delighted at the prospect of enjoying cooked food again, settled down to wait, her gaze filled with a blend of pride and fascination. Her brother had grown so much, yet he was still the gentle soul she remembered, despite the transformation she had feared would harden him into a callous killer. He retrieved an unfamiliar canteen from a strap on his shoulder, pouring its remaining water into a ceramic cooking bowl that was new to Sunflower. After settling the empty canteen just outside their shelter to collect rainwater, he set about preparing the meal. Sunflower nodded in slow approval, impressed by her brother's efforts. Though she had watched over her family's homes, she hadn't been able to see inside, and was unaware of how he had taken on many of her responsibilities, including cooking and making fires, since her departure. As the aroma of the cooking meal filled the air, Sunflower felt a deep warmth within her spirit. She wholeheartedly appreciated his efforts and his relentless questions, even though she couldn't respond in the language they once spoke together. For the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of home in this feral wilderness she had been forced to adapt to. In her brother's presence, amid the familiar comfort of cooked food and shared history, the wild terrain seemed a little less alien and a little more like the place she belonged. In what felt like no time at all, her brother had skillfully prepared a bowl of corn porridge. He glanced at Sunflower, seeking her reaction, as he picked up pieces of dried meat and crumbled them over the porridge with a practiced hand. Carefully, he set the ceramic bowl down before her, anticipation flickering in his eyes as he waited her reaction to his culinary creation. The aroma of the meal, a tantalizing mix of salty and savory, filled the air around them, inviting her to taste the lovingly prepared dish. Sunflower sniffed the dish tentatively before lowering her tongue into the bowl for a sample. Her eyes widened in wonder as the flavors danced on her taste buds. Delighted by the taste, she dipped her tongue back into the bowl and eagerly devoured the rest of the porridge. Now that the bowl was empty, her brother held out a piece of cornbread for her. She took a gentle bite, and the familiar taste of home flooded her senses, making her heart swell with happiness and her eyes brim with tears. Her brother's eyes softened with affection as he reached over, gently scratching the space between her ears. His voice trembled with raw emotion, cracking slightly but filled with warmth. "I'm so glad to see you're alive. You're still alive, Sunflower," he said, his words carrying the weight of his relief and love. As she purred in response, her contentment was clear, reflecting both her gratitude for the meal and the deep bond they shared. Sitting on the sandstone beside her, he began to share all that had happened since her disappearance, his words carrying the weight of their pueblo's collective experiences. He spoke of how, during the naming ceremony for their niece, a mountain lion had been seen nearby, lurking from a neighbor's house. There was a note of curiosity in his voice as he asked, "Was that mountain lion you?" Sunflower nodded slowly, a quiet confirmation of her presence. Her brother's eyes welled with tears of joy, a heartfelt chuckle escaping him as he continued, his voice thick with emotion. "We named her after you," he said softly, his voice infused with deep affection and admiration for his sister's lasting impact on their community. "Did you know that?" She nodded again, her heart swelling with warmth at the news. As he spoke, she noticed something that tugged at her heart even more deeply. He hadn't prepared anything for himself to eat. All of the food he had brought was devoted to making her meal, leaving nothing for his own nourishment. His selflessness, coupled with his unspoken love, was a poignant reminder of the deep bond they shared. And I'm going to stop there. This is about halfway through chapter 4. Sorry, I've been getting kind of emotional and messing up my words a little more tonight. But this chapter is, it's a powerful chapter. So I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you so much. We'll be continuing with the second half of chapter 4, Massacre, tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you all then. In the meantime, I wish you all a good day, good night, whatever it is, wherever you are, and that we all receive blessings. May blessings come down for all of this. Mama, thank you very much. Let it rain good things for all of us. I'll see you tomorrow.